Good afternoon, everyone. What? Can you hear okay?
Yeah.
Hello. Welcome to our 2026 Travels with Tulsans, sponsored by the Friends of Tulsa City County Library. I'm Doris Foster, actually, Doris Degner Foster. And we're glad to have you with us for the first of our 2026 Travels with Tulsans. We're glad to once again be presenting our series here at the Rudisill Regional Library. If you would like more information about becoming a friend of the Tulsa City County Libraries, please pick up one of the friendship membership forms on the table at the back. We have some other newsletters and other information there too. We'd love to have you join the Friends in supporting our 5-star Tulsa library system. Get yourself a cup of coffee or some water while you're back there. Next Wednesday, we're going to hike Yellowstone National Park with Ann Dunnigan and Roz Elder. Be sure to join us next week to see parts of the Yellowstone that most visitors never see. Our traveler today sharing Bosphorus beauty, sights of Istanbul, is our friend and frequent presenter, George Moudry. Yay, George. Some details on George. He was born in Czechoslovakia and immigrated to Canada in 1968, where he graduated from Queen University and married Gwen Edwards. And they both went to the USA in 1972 for postgraduate studies. Both George and Gwen worked in healthcare. George earned a doctorate at the University of Tennessee, taught several years at 2 universities, designed several fitness and rehabilitation centers, and directed 2 nonprofit organizations. They have 2 daughters, both in healthcare work, one with a master's in nursing in Anchorage, Alaska, and the other a physician in the Air Force in California. George and his wife Gwen like to travel, sail, kayak, and ski. Please help me welcome George Moudry.
Thank you, Doris. Well, hello. That was a long speech, so well, we're going to talk about Istanbul. Several of you have been there, so if I make a mistake, please jump out and say, "Oh, that's not like that." All right, Istanbul has fantastic history. Spans over 2,500 years. It's and still is the most important city politically, culturally, economically, and historically. It's really a crossroads of civilizations. So we'll let's see which one. This one, I guess. Yeah, real quick history. It was established as Byzantium by a Greek merchant by the name of Byzant, and he established Byzantium. That was survived about 800 years. In 330 AD, Anno Domini, Emperor Constantine left Rome, that was besieged by the Vandals and Visigoths, and established the Eastern Roman Empire. And he named the city Constantinople after himself, and it lasted over 1,000 years. In 1453, Mehmed II conquered Istanbul. That battle itself, if you look at it, it's a book about it. It's a fantastic battle. and renamed it Istanbul. And it was a sultanate all those years until 1923. After the first war, modern Turkey was established by Mustafa Ataturk. So where is Istanbul? Istanbul is this is a satellite image. On top, you see the Black Sea. Then you have the Bosphorus, that's 19 miles long, and the water flows to the Sea of Marmara. And if you see on that little bottom, there's a little horn sticking out, and Istanbul is sitting right at that edge of that horn. So if you look at the political map, this is it. You know, some of the Turkey is in Europe. Bosphorus is the boundary between Europe and Asia, and most of the Turkey is in Asia. And so there's Sea of Marmara is below Istanbul, then it's Dardanelles Strait and Mediterranean. If you can look at that little horn I was talking to you about, this is the Bosphorus Strait on the right, and the old town is on that promontory, and the new town is on the other side of Golden Horn. So those two towns are different, and I'll show you the difference as we go along. So let's just, that wall on the left, it's a fortification that has been breached for many years, except the year of 1204 with the Fourth Crusade. The Crusaders took over the old Constantinople. But anyway, this is the picture is, but anyway, this is Topkapi Palace. Is one of the main attractions in the old town. Topkapi Palace was the house of the sultans. They've been there for, you know, really 1,000 years. And it's like a medieval fortress. Just look at the walls, and everything is massive and impregnable. And of course, the tourists are streaming in to see what's going on inside. When you walk in, then right on the left-hand side, there's this first church ever built in 537, Hagia Irene, like a church of peace. The inside is not, you know, we walk inside, it's not flashy at all. It's not a church anymore, not a mosque, but just a meeting place, you know, for concerts and you know, gatherings and so on. But it's good to mention it because it's the first Christian church on that side. When we walk in, and further down, there is this structure, the Hall of Justice, which is really the Supreme Court for the sultans. And that's where, you know, all the big trials took place. And if you inside, there is this picture, which is very unusual because anywhere in Istanbul, there are no pictures, of course, of people, animals. That's forbidden in Muslim religion. So this is very unusual that they display that picture. The Sultan is sitting in the middle of there, and you can see the pageantry around the way it was, you know, a long time ago. And I mostly like the hats. Okay, so we walk in, and everything is ornate. There's a lot of gold leaf everywhere, polished marble. The guy in there beside my wife, his name is Rick, and he was educated in England, native boy, by the way, and was lawyering in London for a few years. But he was so homesick of his town, so he came back and became a tour guide, and he knew everything about everything. And he took us to places that normal people don't see. If you go anywhere in a town, always get a guide, professional guide, for two reasons. First of all, he'll tell you all kinds of stuff, and secondly, he's got that little, pass ID, and if there's a line of people waiting to get in, he can go right by everybody and go in. So we can see twice as much with the guide than if you don't have one. And here we are. There's a courtyard after courtyard after courtyard. You go through these gates, and the calligraphy, on the sides. There's of course no pictures of people or anything. A lot of calligraphy, mostly talking about Allah and Muhammad and verses from Quran. And the hallways are just fantastic. Polished marble, a lot of tiles, a lot of gold. And on top, as you see, there's more, calligraphies and stuff. So this is one of the rooms inside. Very, very, lot of gold. And you like gold? Like maybe Trump is from there. Just to show you the opulence, and to contrast that with Newtown, you'll be in another palace. So you can remember this. Then you can walk around on the sort of veranda and look at over Bosphorus, and in the background there is the financial district, the real city, the high rises, and which we'll visit in a minute. So we leave Topkapi, and very close to Topkapi is Hagia Sophia, or Church of Wisdom. That was built in 537. A huge place, tremendous, just unbelievable. It's right now, it was a Christian church for 1,000 years, and the biggest church in the world for forever and ever, until St. Peter's Cathedral was built in Vatican. It's bigger, but it's still one of the biggest, if not the second biggest in the world, still today. But the Ottomans, made it a mosque. So it's a functioning mosque. So we'll go. The cupola is one of the biggest cupolas in the world. When you walk in, there's these hallways, very extremely tall, that go around all the way around, and all the Christian pictures and icons were taken down, and they were replaced by Ottoman Muslim symbols. But it's very artistic. If you look at the picture, and it's really visible when you walk through the hallway, it's tilted to the left a little bit, because Turkey is full of earthquakes. And so the earthquakes kind of moved the building a little bit, but it withstood all those earthquakes. And on the top, it's a walkway on the second floor. You can walk all the way around and look down as you see the big, huge signs with Arabic symbols. Again, about Allah and Muhammad. Then, if you look inside, this is the main body of the church. It's immense. And you see the Arabic, calligraphy. It's a huge, fantastic place. Most of those religious, Christian symbols have taken down, but there's few places you can see them, like over some of the doors, and so some of the sultans they thought these people were people of the book. They call them people believers. So some of them are still preserved, especially with the gold leaf. Okay, this is the altar in every mosque is an altar, and it's called mihrab. And the mihrab always faces Mecca, wherever in the whole world. And since they couldn't move the building, they put the mihrab to the side a little bit to face Mecca. But it's a functioning mosque and still one of the greatest churches ever built. Just imagine how many millions of shoes and people walking would wear down a slab of stone this big. That just shows you the history of the place. Right outside Hagia Sophia is the Blue Mosque, built in 609. One of the greatest mosques in Istanbul. It has 6 minarets. There's only 2 mosques that has 6 minarets, and one of them is in Mecca, and one of them is here. And it sits in the middle of the park. It's like a central park in Istanbul. People walking, they have, they sit around, they enjoy the water fountains, and as you see, they're just kind of enjoying themselves. The inside of Blue Mosque is again, the volume is just breathtaking. How huge it is, and the columns supporting that structure. It's awe-inspiring, really. And look at all that blue tile. This is the cupola. If you look up, very artistic and really tremendous. But the tiles are everywhere. The walls and everything is a tile of this Izmir tile, which is very expensive tile. Now this tile is 600 years old, and it looks like new. And so that's why it's called the Blue Mosque. This wall shows you the pulpit, where the imam, talks to the believers and leads them in prayer. And again, the calligraphy and the writing. Right outside of Blue Mosque is this place called Velodrome. And Velodrome has been built by Romans, when Constantine or maybe Justinian, and it was like a circus in Rome. Remember Ben-Hur, circus, horses, exciting. Exactly, that's just like that. And they have races there. They have parades in there, and in fact, in one area there's a seating for 40,000 people to overlook that the pageantry. These obelisks were taken a stone from Egypt by Romans when they plundered Egypt, so they put them up here, and obelisks and other things. The Velodrome, very. I had a friend by the name of Dr. Ross, and they had a yearly marathon in that I went around the Velodrome, and he was like in about 10 of them, and he talked incessantly about the Velodrome marathon. Maybe some of you know it's very big figure. Gwen, what was his last name? Ross. Anyway, another mosque, the Soleimani Mosque. The cupolas are beautiful blue. The blue doesn't really show in this picture, but it's there. If the sun hits it right, it's just beautiful. Another big. So we visited several of them, and I'm take you inside of this one. So you walk in. Of course, all the women have to have a shawl around their heads, and sometimes if they have short skirts, they have to wear. They give them a little longer longer skirts to cover the lower part of the legs or whatever. So when you go to the mosque, first of all, you take your shoes off, no shoes. Then the ladies have to cover their heads, and then we walk in. As we walk in, every mosque has a courtyard, and in the courtyard there's several things, and this one of them right here looks like a magazine kiosks, but it's not. It's a well. So if you can see down there, the little stools and little spigots out there, so people can come in and get their water, because water in Istanbul is precious commodity, and I'll tell you why in a minute. So a little story about that. The most famous architect, his name was Sinan. And Sinan was the one that actually designed the Blue Mosque and the Soleimani Mosque. And was just a really big man on campus in Istanbul. And for that, the Sultan gave him a special privilege. And the privilege was that he could have running water in his house. Running water in the house was only in the palace for the Sultan, maybe some of the dignitaries. Well, that was a really great honor, because the rest of those people had to go in like 3 times a day with the pails and get the water here and drag it home. Well, it so happens that his grandson was a young man, harsh, full of himself, and he was bragging to all his friends about the privilege they have in his house, running water and, bathing and all that. And of course, the friends were jealous, so they complained to one of the viziers, and one of the viziers told the Sultan, and the Sultan brought the young man in. And the man explained, because of Sinan and all, the privilege and whatnot, and the Sultan says, "Well, where is the paper? Where's the signature of that old Sultan that gave you the privilege?" And the young man didn't have it. So the Sultan, okay, the privilege is none and void, and go away. It's a little lesson in town. So another thing you can see in these mosques is these long baths. They wash their feet before they walk in. Many people just wash their feet. When they shoes off, they wash their feet just to make sure that they are on holy ground. So you can always see all kinds of people washing their hands and feet. And of course, the cupola of Soleimani Mosque is also, it's a different design, but it's very artistic, as you see. Around the big mosques this is a graveyard right alongside the side of the mosque. And these are the headstones. And only, I don't know if they're buried. I don't think they're buried in there, but they just, the headstones just commemorate those people who, the dignitaries of that particular age. So when you see that. Okay, where are we going next? We talk about the water. They have several aqueducts that were made by the Romans. The Roman aqueducts that brought the water from the nearby mountains to the town. But of course, if the town was under siege, the siegers cut the water off. And so that was a big problem for the city. Therefore, what they did, they built several cisterns, and this is the grand cistern. And there's several of them in town, but this grand one, it's bigger than 2 football fields, underground. And it's almost under the top, very close to Topkapi Palace. And on the way back, you can see the walkways, the wooden walkways, so the tourists can walk all the way around the cistern, and the guides tell them all about it, what it means, because there are some kind of different statues embedded in those columns, and he'll tell you all about them. And one of them is the head of Medusa. and it was turned upside down. And the reason for that was that the Ottomans said, we are not worried about Greek gods and Christian gods. We'll turn it upside down and nothing will happen to us. In other words, there you go. Do something about it. Little things like that. Okay. The water is about 2 feet deep or maybe 3 feet deep. You can see the bottom. There's points and all kinds of stuff on the bottom. They collect it now and then. But in the past, they said went all the way to the ceiling, but it was, totally full. And they could live with that volume of water for a long time. But right now, the water is just because they have plumbing right now. Well, we'll visit some of the streets. The streets, these little tables and these little chairs, they're ubiquitous. They're everywhere around town. And the men sit there on those, just like you see some of those guys in the back, and they talk and they smoke or they drink or they eat, whatever. And when they leave, they just put the stools back. But you never see a woman sitting there, never. In fact, you don't see a woman do anything. This is, by the way, this is about 15 years old, but the women just didn't work, visibly anywhere. Well, they were, of course, walking around and, shopping and stuff like that, but working, actually, never seen one. At one point, we saw a bunch of women walking in the bank because we wanted to exchange some money. So we followed them and see what they're going to do in the bank. And they went in and they disappeared. They went inside somewhere, just gone. But all the tellers, they were all men. No women working anywhere. So we are on the streets, all these streets. The vendors, there's all kinds of vendors. They have everything. This guy has half of Walmart with him. And, they're laden with boxes, so they transport anything and everything in these two-wheel carts. And so you can see all kinds of characters. Then you have these columns of posts of meat, and they shave the meat off. You've seen it, I'm sure, everywhere. And they put it in ingredients, and that's what they do. And it's called islak. You get either islak burger or islak something else. So again, men only. This gentleman has a little urn on his back full of juice. And he, see that little spout under his elbow, that little spout? He bends over and the juice comes out of that little mouth of that little dragon. And he fills up the cup and gives it to this beautiful young lady. Another attraction on the streets is these streets have been built for horses, horse-drawn, and carts, hand carts, not for buses. So when a big vehicle like a bus trying to negotiate a tight corner or something, the whole street springs to action. They surround the bus and they start gesticulating and this is we go this way and that way, and it's a show. For example, the guy on the left out there, he's showing him, he's communicating with the driver how far he can go and whatnot. And so it's always a bunch of people running around telling them what to do. The streets, there are alleys throughout town, full of kiosks and shops and boutiques and everywhere, narrow spaces, and people shop. But if you want to shop, then I have a recommendation for you. You have to go to the Grand Bazaar, the biggest bazaar in the world. The bazaar There's 5 streets, 5 city streets that they are ceilinged over. It's just it's ceiling over, and it's an essentially street that has a ceiling, and you can walk in there for all day. It has over 5,000 shops. It employs over 30,000 people, and you walk through here, and you can buy anything and everything in the world, and it's quite it's quite an experience. When the spice and the food and spices, if you go to spice racks, you can smell them 200 feet away. Smell this beautiful smell of spices. This is what it looks like one of the main racks, and so the vendors, they run out, grab you, tourists grab you inside, and they want to sell you this and that and everything, and they're very persuasive. Well, they're not that aggressive, but it's a negotiation and what. And I did a good negotiating, so I bought this hat. And it's so it's you have to do it. It's just phenomenal. Okay, now we're gonna leave the old town and we go to the new town. So the old town is connected by a bridge over Golden Horn to New Town. By the way, they have Istanbul has 18 million people. 18 million people, a huge metropolis. Golden Horn. What do they call it, Golden Horn? Because during the sieges, there were a lot of sieges. Most of them were, almost none of them succeeded except 2 or 3, and namely the Fourth Crusade in 1204. They captured Constantinople, and horrible atrocities happened there. Historians say that there were rivers of blood going through the street, and they kept the town for about 20 years, but it was captured back by the Romans later on. So during the sieges, all the rich people, the merchants, they are worried about their possessions, their diamonds, and their gold. So what they did, they put them in the boxes or little caskets, watertight, and they put them underwater. Special cash underwater for better times so they can retrieve it later. And so there was so much gold in there at one time or another. It was called Golden Horn. That's for that. So we're going to go across that bridge called the Galata Bridge on the other side. Galata Bridge is the bottom part is the pedestrians, the top part is for buses and cars. And so we go along, and you have these food barges, food boats. They sell food to tourists, drinks, everything, islaks, but a lot of fish, of course. Very busy, noisy place. We liked it. It was great. So as we go across, this is the older part of the new town that's dominated by Galata Tower. The Galata Tower was built in the 14th century by Italians from Genoa. Those are, there were merchants there that the sultans let them do business because they had connections to Venice. And of course, Venice was very in the city that was very businesslike. And for that privilege that they can do business in town, they built a tower and gave it as a gift to the town, the Galata Tower. And on the right-hand side, and further down, you can see the skyscrapers, really, and that's the financial district. Financial, Bursa or stock exchange. Istanbul Stock Exchange, very, very famous. It's the big source of income for the town. So we're going to visit that. The main drag through the financial district is Istiklal Street. And Istiklal Street it's like Broadway in New York. A lot of people, pedestrian zone only, I don't know, it's like 6 or 7 blocks long. Only tram goes through there now and then. See the rails? And if you look at the people, how they're dressed, and much different than from the old town. You don't see those little stools and, you know, and little tables, nothing like that. The architecture also it's more, let's say, European. But there's some fantastic restaurants. It's a good place. Well, there's this Sultan Abdülmecid I. And Abdülmecid had itchy feet, and he went around Europe and, you know, checking it out, checking the competition out there. And he went and visited the king in Spain, the king in Paris, you know, and the Kaiser in Germany, and, you know, and the Tsar in Petersburg. And he was in awe of their palaces. He felt like the Topkapi Palace is like a hovel in comparison to like St. Petersburg. So he said, well, I am the Sultan, I'll build myself a new palace. So he did, and he selected a place right on the side of the Bosphorus, you know, right in their beautiful place, except it was a swamp. So he drained the swamp, put in rock, soil on top of it, and tremendous expense, and built himself a new palace called Dolmabahce Palace, built in 1853. And what does Dolmabahce mean in Turkish? I tell you, it means swamp. It does. Dolmabahce Palace. Okay, so we said we have to see that. So we go in there, of course. That's the gate to the main gate to the palace, and it sort of looks different than from that very medieval gate of Topkapi. And when we walk in, the palace is surrounded by beautiful, beautiful gardens, flowering bushes, you know, water fountains, lot exotic trees, you know, a lot of palm trees and trees from the north, and very, very fetching. And this one building, there's a couple of buildings on the side. This one building beside the palace, we were told it's the armory. And just look at the architecture. Entirely different, very European. By people say Baroque, but I would say it's Rococo. You know, Rococo is actually a Barocco on steroids. Very ornate, you know, very European. So we go into the palace, and a lot of soldiers with guns, machine guns, and they're marching back and forth, you know, protecting. Although this is not a site. Actually, politicians are all in Ankara, this is not a political center, Ankara is, but still, they have they show the gates that there's a walkway along the Dolmabahce Palace, right by Bosphorus. Then again, it's, you know, guarded, and sometimes people can walk in there, sometimes not, depending. They have a schedule, I think so. But anyway, we walk in and see what it looks like. So we walk. This is the main foyer, you know, the entrance, and it is truly magnificent. I mean, the artwork is fantastic. But again, you can see the difference. The difference mostly, it's not as much gold. he probably spent it all building it. But anyway, it's awe-inspiring. Then you go to this up this staircase to the upper levels where all those beautiful palace rooms, bedrooms are, and it's called the crystal staircase because all the posts on the balustrades, they're all crystal, made out of glass, and of course they have crystal chandeliers and it's a lot of crystals in there. So we'll have just one of the rooms inside. Again, no blue tiles, no, it's just entirely different decor. I would say more European. And of course, you've been to European palaces, or then you've seen them. Some of that. A lot of cruise ships. There's always two or three, well, at least two cruise ships, sitting on the dock. A lot of tourists, they disembark and go to Grand Bazaar. So we said, okay, we'll go up the Bosphorus and check it out. And but we didn't go by cruise ship. We went by ferry boat. It's a ferry boat that goes from, the new town all the way up to almost Black Sea and back. It makes, I think, 2 stops on the way and 2 stops on the back. So we got on the ferry boat and we heading up north. And as we go along on the European side, these villas, beautiful places, palaces. And the guy told us that's where the very rich people live, right here. Quite nice. Hotels like this, they have, swimming pools up there and, spas and massages and no, lovely. And then we go by Dolmabahce Palace, so, seen from the Bosphorus. This is some kind of military institution, maybe headquarters, maybe the local Pentagon. And there's another government building, and the guy said, it's a government building, but he didn't really specify what that was. And there's a bridge spanning Bosphorus called Bosphorus Bridge. Was opened in 1973, and of course it's over a mile long and very high in order to let all the big tall ships go through the Bosphorus. Speaking of ships, that the oil tankers go through there, and they are always accompanied by fireboats, firefighting boats. Always at least one firefighting boat per tanker, sometimes 2, one on each side, just in case there's fire. And when they go by Topkapi, they always spew water out, for a show. And then the tourists go, yeah, it's great stuff. Since we talk about that, Bosphorus, Sea of Marmara, and Dardanelles, they are international waters. They are not owned by anybody, international waters. And because it is international water, every vessel on that water has to fly a flag of the country it belongs. Every single vessel. So even the little tiny fishing boats of the local people, they have a little flag, Turkish flags stuck in the back. The Ortaköy Mosque is a nice little mosque, and that is the summer home of the sultans. That's where they go for to relax and take the load off from all the important decisions they have to make. So they spend a weekend there or the whole week and stuff like that. So that's a retreat for the sultans. Okay, this is Anatolian fortress. This has been built right away, right in 15th century, 15th, 16th century by the Ottomans at a very narrow part of Bosphorus, which is only 2,300 feet across. And just right past the bridge, in fact. And that guarded Bosphorus Strait. And here at the end, you know, the dock is right around that promontory, and that's where they stop, unload, load, and they told us we have 2 hours. So Gwen and I thought, well, why don't we have a swim in Bosphorus, you know? So we took our clothes off, we jumped in the water, and it was nice, but nice and warm, but current, really strong current coming from the north all the way down to the Mediterranean because it drains Asia. So there are a lot of buoys, big buoys with chains. So we're hanging on to the chain so we won't end up in Istanbul half naked. So after 2 hours, we got back on and we are on the other side, on the north side, on the east side of Bosporus by the town called Üsküdar. And of course, there's a mosque on top and everywhere, I don't know, so many feet there mosque. There's lots of mosques, you know, like churches here in Oklahoma. And so again, entirely different architecture. So after that all day, we have to relax and we sit. Our hotel was right across the street from the Soleimani Mosque. And so we are sitting out there drinking beer, you know, looking at this beautiful architecture panorama. And here we are, and we're drinking a local beer called FS Pilsner beer. Now, note, if it says Pilsner on it, it's always a good beer. You can go wrong. So that's us when we were on sunnier slope of life. And that's it. Any questions? Yeah, about 15 years ago, yeah. Let's see. I don't think so. Oh, it could have been. Has been there a long time. Well, by the way, speaking of that, I mean, I think you mentioned it too. Somebody mentioned it. When we were there, we have been there 3 times. Oh. And this was the middle town. And last time we felt like they're a little more strict in enforcing the Muslim rules, especially, you know, dress code and stuff like that. So they're kind of, it's a secular state, republic on paper, but 90% of citizens are Muslim. And there are a few churches in Istanbul itself. In fact, I should have included a picture of the St. George Church. Nice little church right in the middle of Istanbul. Mm-hmm. Okay, anything else? Yes, ma'am.
On a tour, or did you go on your own?
Oh, the tours. We had a tour guide. We planned that. We spent a week in there, and we hired the guy before he came, and he picked us up, and at the airport, and then he picked us up every morning, and spent a day with us, and then came next morning, and he did other things. Went through places like this calligraphy artist. It's like artist studio, and they guided anything, only calligraphy, beautiful big calligraphies in Arabic. And it was quite quite an interesting tour. And it's another tour was of a house of a rich person that has beautiful garden, and he had a bust of the architect Sinan in the corner. And he said, "Don't tell anybody I have this bust of an actual person, because again, it's against the religion." But beside Sinan, that's why I remember the name, and he elaborated on his Rick elaborated on his on that particular person. Well, who has been to there? Who's been to Istanbul? 1, 2, 3. Everybody, almost. Okay. Well, did I make any mistakes? Well, we were on cruise one time, in fact, 2 cruises, that, and this one was not, we flew in for this particular one. We took our family, my extended family, including my brother. And so it's a different kind of pictures, more family pictures.
So you all were on your own as far as you weren't with a group?
No, we are on our own, right? Yeah. Yeah. Well,
That's cool.
well, thank you.